You're going to make me... I'm not...
You look fine. Hi, I'm the family story catcher, and we're catching this story about how Joan's...
My name is not Joan, it's Joanne, by the
Joanne?
way.
Oh, really?
I know it's spelled weirdly, but that's...
Joanne.
Yes,
Sorry.
or Joe, whatever.
Okay.
You know, I answered
All right.
that. I answered almost anything.
So she was telling the story about how... Here, I'm going to put this on. She was telling the story about how her... she had no grandchildren. What were you saying?
Yeah.
She had no grandchildren.
Right, at the time that my mother died. But 1 year, just 1 year before my mother died, her 69th birthday, we pretended that nothing was happening. Nobody mentioned her birthday. But I'd had a very special cake made for her that looked like a quilt top because she was really big into making quilts at that point. And so had the cake hidden at a neighbor's house. My niece from the east coast of Florida had come over, but still nothing was said. I got home from work. My mother had cooked dinner for everybody, so we sat and we ate supper. And after supper, I looked at her and I said, "Mom, it's your birthday, and we never even got you a cake. We didn't do a cake. We didn't do anything." I said, "Let's go up to the bakery. We can at least get you a cupcake and put a candle on it." She said, "Well, I don't want a cupcake. I want a donut." I said, "Fine, we'll go get a donut." So we went up to the store at that time. It was an Albertsons up there, and they had a bakery. And we got her a donut, and we fiddled around the store for a while and just, killing a little time. While at home, my children and their cousin were decorating the dining room with streamers, balloons, and all kinds of good stuff. We had party hats, blowers, you name it, we had it. We walked back in, and there's that cake sitting there with a few candles on it. All this stuff, and my mother couldn't believe it. We took glorious pictures of the whole thing. She carried those pictures with her from that day on. Everywhere she went, anybody she saw her birthday party. The first party she'd ever really had for her birthday.
Wow.
So, and 1 year later, she died.
And she was how old?
70. On her 70th birthday, her 6 children were in her hospital room with 6 dozen red roses. That night, she stopped breathing. Called the nurse before we realized she was about to stop, but her breathing got really bad. I called the nurse down. By the time the nurse got there, she had stopped breathing, but they sent me out of the room, resuscitated her, and 2 nights later, I was with her again when she stopped breathing. And Debbie and I were there with her. We just kind of stood on either side of her, holding her hand, and waited till she stopped breathing, and then we waited about 5 more minutes. Then we called the nurse. We didn't want her to go through that again. So, just 1 year, she had to really celebrate that. But she seriously carried those pictures everywhere with her, to church, to anybody's house. Anybody she was visiting, anybody came in her door, saw those pictures. She was just so proud of that she had that birthday party.
Wow.
So it was a great memory for us to have of her.
So then, a year after her big birthday party,
she
went to rest. Yeah. And then a year after that, there was a grandbaby, the first grandbaby.
No, she died. First time on the 19th of July, the second time on the 21st of July. Julie was born on August 12th. So we're talking, 3.5 weeks after my mother died. She was born.
August 6th.
August 6th, I'm sorry. It's 8/6, right? Okay, August 6th. Anyway, the point being, that she missed out seeing my oldest, grandchild. Although she did see a little sweater that Debbie was knitting for the baby. And she smiled, and she was really in bad shape. But when she saw that, she really had a big smile on her face because she did all kinds of stuff. She crocheted, she knitted, she did everything. And so she was really pleased, to see that little sweater. And she did smile at that point, and that's the last smile I saw on her face because just shortly after that's when she stopped breathing. But it was a good memory to have of her.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to catch a little bit of Joanne's memories and stuff is I'm always sitting around with people that are trying to do better with their tone of voice and the way that they talk to each other and stuff. And I came over here and I'm sitting here and she said, that was one thing about my mother. She said, I don't think my mother ever spoke a harsh word I don't think I ever heard my mother speak a harsh word to anybody. And I was like,
Well,
Wow.
you have to forgive me. When we were little and did things wrong, she might say, "Stop that," or whatever. But it was never, and I never heard a foul word out of my mother's mouth at all. Never, absolutely never. Her speech was totally clean. So she was a great example. We always had people at our house, even when we were stacking them practically to the ceiling. We lived in a little 2-bedroom house, okay? And at one point, we had an aunt with her baby living with us. At another time, we had a young man that my father hired whose stepfather had kicked him out of the house, and he wound up living with us for a couple of years, sleeping on the couch. But that was the only place left to sleep. But there was always room for somebody at my mother's house, and always room around her table.
That's right.
You wonder why I'm the way I am. You grow up with that. That's how you are.
Well, I grew up with that, too. Our house was the house where everybody just hung out around the fire for hours and hours and hours and ended up staying over and things like that. But I remember you saying something about your dad would say to your mom, somebody's coming home for dinner. And
yeah, he would call her, when it was almost time to come home for dinner and say, "Oh, I'm bringing so-and-so and so-and-so home for dinner tonight." There was always enough food on the table. I don't know how she did it. There was always enough food on the table. We never went hungry for sure.
To share around with somebody else.
Yeah.
That's good. And
which tells you why when Linda called me one day and said, "Oh, by the way, Mom, I'm bringing 4 people home with me tonight." It's like, okay, whatever. We'll find a spot for everybody. I mean, that's just what I grew up with.
And I think you should tell the house story again. That's pretty good. The house. This is the house that the money for this house just appeared in an amazing way.
Well, we had been in Tampa for, oh goodness, we came here in August, so we're talking it was like the following March. But we had looked, and we had looked, and we had looked, and we had looked some more. And we finally found this little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house that we thought we would qualify for because they had a little bit of a government subsidy thing going there, to make it easier for people to buy a house. Well, my husband made something maybe $100 a year too much to qualify. It was such a little bit, it was ridiculous. And at that point, we said, "Lord, we quit. We'll live in this furnished apartment until you're ready. You show us what to do." Well, shortly after that, we got a call from my husband's father. He said, "Well, we got your Aunt Grace's estate settled with $10,000 after you get into the house you want to be in." So he and both his parents came down here, went with us house shopping. And we wound up with this house because of the way it's set up. Because you see that downstairs with the family room, bedroom, and bathroom is almost a little apartment to itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a mother-in-law, father-in-law type place.
Yep.
And of course, I'm not sure whether Lexi would not remember. Rachel might remember her great-grandpa, being here with us for a time. I think Lexi was just a baby. But I do have a wonderful picture of her that I took of Pop was holding her, and they were looking at each other, just gazing in each other's eyes so lovingly. And I thought, well, that's a great picture. So we had a picture of him with all of us. He had 6 great-granddaughters, 5 of them were here at one time, and we got a picture of them with him. But Lexi hadn't been born yet. So we had that picture there at his memorial service, and Lexi's picture stuck in the corner with Pop holding her. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is, really, when you think about it. And that's why I said, God gave us this house. Everybody's welcome. It's his house,
Mm-hmm.
I look at it that way.
And I partly had it in my heart since I'm so close to Rachel and Lexi. I don't get to see them all the time, but the story, the first time I got to meet Deb and Rachel and Lexi was when I visited Linda's house here in Tampa.
Right.
And Rachel showed up and parked herself next to me and kept staring at me and asking me all these questions like, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" and
That
Deb,
sounds like Rachel.
and Deb, and it was great because Debbie was like, she has never paid this much attention to any person that I can ever remember, and she just kind of stuck to me like glue. And that was after God had crashed in on me, and I realized I was supposed to be a daddy years and years ago, but Satan tricked me out of thinking in that way. And so it was a really happy thing for me, this amazing little kid wants to know everything I've ever known or done and has all these questions for me, and I loved it. Yeah. It was awesome. But I was thinking, since Lexi Yippee is now in the shelter of a man who really cares about her, Deontay is a really neat guy. I was thinking.
So I've heard. I look forward to meeting him.
Yeah, I was thinking. I wonder what story you would tell to Deontay about his baby's family lineage, or maybe some story or something. So that's why I wanted to pick up a couple of things to also share with them, because you didn't get carted up to Cincinnati for their little wedding celebration, but the wedding celebration goes on for your entire lifetime. So there's plenty.
If it's a good marriage, you get God in it, and it works.
Yep, that's right.
That's my best advice to any young couple: keep God at the forefront, do what He tells you to do, be the person He wants you to be, and your marriage is going to work.
That's right.
And if you love that other person, you want to make that person happy. So if each of you, has that love, you each want to make the other person happy. What do you ever have to argue about?
That's right.
And my kids would tell you, if we didn't argue, they never heard us fight. We may disagree on some things, but we would talk it out, figure out what was best, but we never fought. Because there's no point in it.
Wow. 2 parents who never fought. Whoa, that's a miracle in itself.
I remember Debbie coming home one time, their mom coming one time, she said, Mom, they don't believe me when I tell them you and Dad never fight. People don't believe me. It's like, well, what's to fight about? You love God, you love each other.
Wow.
You love your family.
That's pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Some people find that hard to believe, but that's actually the reality. So, so is there anything that is your favorite parts about your husband that you would mention to Deontay? Things that you thought was great about him? Because the good spirits, the angels of light that were around your husband are now also around that child. And I'm just wondering if there's a favorite thing.
He was a very loving man. He was always honest. He wanted to help everybody. I mean, he was at one point when he was still able to do it. We had several widows around. If they had a problem, they knew who to call, whether it was to fix something that broke or change a light bulb. It didn't matter. He was always available and there where he was needed.
Yeah, it's a little rough for me that Lexi and Deontay are so far away, because when I first bumped into him, I was like, wow, this is a great guy. I could tell he's the oldest one of a string of 5 kids, so he was raised learning how to take care of the little ones and stuff. And
I look forward to seeing their little one too.
Yeah,
that's
indeed.
That's another great grandchild for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, greetings from Tampa, y'all.
Love you guys.